Why has there been 83,000 total commits so far when it comes to Hedera as of 2026? I'll explain in today's video, even though I am not telling anyone to do anything, and this is just my perspective. Nothing I say is financial advice. So I think first of all, it's important to note, what does this statistic even mean? Because ChainSpect recently showcased how, again, Hedera has already seen 83,000 total commits. Now, basically, the higher the total commits, it's typically viewed as a pretty positive thing, arguably. And the reason why is because it usually indicates more active sustained development work on the core protocol. Now, if we take a look at it, total commits does equal lifetime volume of core protocol code changes. So this isn't an indicator of something being the best or the greatest. No, it doesn't mean that. However, what it showcases is, I think, arguably activity, especially when it comes to the developers, right? I would arguably say. Now, let me just give this as an example. It's like, let's say, for instance, someone buys a home and they said, hey, I renovated the home 70 times or 60 times or whatever the case may be. Now, when we hear that, our automatic reaction is, wow, that means the home must be improved so much, right? It got renovated that many times. But it doesn't necessarily mean that it's any better than a home that only got renovated once or twice, because we don't know the quality of the renovations. We don't know what the renovations even are in some cases, let's say when it comes to home. And it doesn't mean that the more renovations, the better the home became. That's not usually always the case, right? So when it comes to, in this situation, it's kind of not showcasing, oh wow, Hedera became the best. No, not necessarily. What it just showcases is activity. And I think it's pretty important because this does, to me, at least, show that Hedera isn't completely forgotten about. I get it. People like to say, well, this is so boring, it's ignored. But it doesn't really feel that way to me. And the statistics do showcase that to a certain extent because, according to ChainSpect, the amount of total commits when it comes to Hedera was so high to the point that it's actually higher than Avalanche, Near, even Stellar, believe it or not. I mean, that seems kind of ridiculous, right? Some people may say, but apparently that is the case. It's also even higher than Polygon, Aptos, Algorand, and of course many others. So I just find this pretty impressive. Yes, Hedera did lose out to Tezos, Solana, Ethereum and all this, Cardano, but that's expected. But still, if we take a look at it, let's say Solana's total commits was 95,000, Hedera's 83,000. So it's not like it lost out by that much. Now, it lost out a lot to Ethereum, which is slightly over 500,000. So yeah, that makes sense. I mean, come on, how is Hedera going to overtake that in terms of total commits? But hey, Hedera having 83,000 total commits, I don't find it to be such a bad thing. Now, this begs the question though. Yes, HBAR has recovered around 6 or 7% in the past 30 days, and they like to tell me, like people like to tell me, for instance, that the market cap is around 3.4 billion. They say that back in 2024, we saw a market cap of around 3.4 billion, but why is the sentiment better back then, like around 2 years ago, but it's not so good currently as of right now, despite having the same market cap? Well, we have to take a look at it historically speaking. In 2022, the market cap was around 1 billion, right? So of course, going to around a 3.4 billion market cap in 2024 seemed like this pretty impressive increase of around 3 times at that particular moment in time, right? But as of right now, even though the market cap is back at around 2024 levels, the thing is, HBAR in 2025, so just last year, the market cap was around 13 billion. So if we consider that right there, we're around 4 times away from that. So from 2022 going to around 3.4, 3.5 billion market cap in 2024 was around a 3 times movement. But as of right now, we're down so much from an around 13 billion market cap just last year. So yes, even though the market cap currently is back at 2024 levels, in 2024, there was an increase from 2022 to that, but we just saw this massive decrease from last year. So yes, it's at the same point, but we have to take into consideration that the sentiment is not as good right now because there has been a decrease from last year as opposed to 2024, which was an increase from 2022. So that's the difference. Now, people like to say, well, it recovered around 7% though in the past 30 days. Doesn't the sentiment become better? Isn't it supposed to become way better? Well, it's slightly better, but it's not going to become so much better just because we're still down by quite a lot. And a lot of people are still questioning whether or not this is going to be a prolonged recovery or not. Because when things sometimes look so bad for quite a while and suddenly things start looking good, people are very curious. I mean, they're very suspicious. Like, is it really actually the moment in time in which this space recovers? Because I think people are tired of seeing like a slight recovery, then a dump and all this. So it's totally understandable. People are still questioning whether or not this is a prolonged recovery or not. Now, when they ask me, is this a prolonged recovery? My answer is I will never be able to know. Now, that may sound kind of bizarre. People are like, well, if you don't know, why would you want to hold? Like, they asked me that question, even though I'm not telling anyone to do anything. But the reason why is because my time frame isn't, oh, 20, 30%, then I'm gone like that. No, that's really not my style. Personally, I'm looking to be in this space for years, and I feel like I might have to wait for quite a while. So I'm not necessarily concerned about, the short term or medium term movements. I care more so about the long term. It's like, for instance, let's say 10 years ago. I mean, sure, there were people who believed in Bitcoin, but did they really know how it was going to do eventually 10 years on? I don't necessarily think so to the precise extent. I think they probably thought, oh, wow, the maximum supply is only 21 million. Maybe it might do something. I think that's their mindset, but they don't know the exact peak, right? Or what it would exactly do in around 10 years. But they probably still believed in it. And that's just kind of my mindset as of right now. I don't know when things will recover, but my mindset is waiting anyways. So it's not a big concern. But one thing I also find quite bizarre when it comes to this is that if HBAR just goes back to its peak last year, which is over 3 times away from right now, now if it just goes back there, I literally have no sort of desire for an altcoin season anymore, just because HBAR has been this low. So if it goes back there, I don't really need an altcoin season anymore. It would be awesome if I did see one, but HBAR has proven that in the past, without an altcoin season, it's already been able to reach around a 13 billion market cap. And right now, we're over 3 times away from that. Now, people like to say, well, if it just goes back there, that's really boring, right? That's really bad. But I don't view it that way. And the reason why is because if Bitcoin went back to its peak last year, it's like, what, around a 2 times movement almost? So to me, if Bitcoin doing that would be considered so impressive, why would this, doing over 3 times, if let's say it goes back to its peak last year, why would that be considered suddenly boring? To me, a 3x, any way I take a look at it, is still hypothetically a 3x, right? It almost doesn't really matter in a sense where, oh, I find it boring for one project and not boring for the other. No, I don't think about it that way. It's not just because HBAR is an altcoin, I suddenly find it so bad if it only went back to its peak last year. I don't think so. Again, going back there is over a 3 times movement, if it could even do that, though. That's a big if, right? But we've seen it before, but I'm just saying. But if I take a look at, let's say, this G-Shock, if suddenly I woke up tomorrow or something like that, and then I saw how there's like 3 of these suddenly, I'd be like, whoa, what? I'd be so surprised, right? So I think sometimes people underestimate and say, oh, if this altcoin doesn't do this massive movement 20, 30, 50, 70 times or whatever, that means it's really bad. I don't necessarily think about it that way. Just because, I mean, that sounds like cool, I guess. It sounds very impressive. But not every project can do that. And I'm not looking to become the next Jeff Bezos anyway, so personally for me, just going back to its peak last year, I really have nothing to complain about, but that's just my style. However, I'm not telling anyone to do anything, and seeing how there's 83,000 total commits when it comes to Hedera, I found it to be quite impressive, and naturally, I wanted to make a video on it. But I'll be sure to document my journey along the way, so hopefully y'all stay tuned for future upcoming videos. I'm going to say thank you so much for watching. It's been Lee the Captain.